What a thrilling game. The Montreal Canadiens go toe-to-toe with the best team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, and despite the fact that we barely lost, we had some great points coming from this game with KIRBY, DACH, Alex Belzile, Raphael Harvey-Pinard, Sam Montembeault, and a lot more, and I'll be getting into all of it on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and really quick before we get into the video, please guys, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new or you're a returning viewer who hasn't hit it yet. It'd be really appreciated, and we love all the support you guys have been giving us. Okay, well, what a game, right? Habs versus Bruins. Is there any team that Habs fans hate more than Boston? Some of you might say Toronto. I'd say we still hate Boston more. Personally, I really don't like Boston. Very few players on the team I enjoy, but no matter what I say, Boston is still the rolling, steamrolling through the NHL. They're a behemoth in the Atlantic Division, and they came into a packed Bell Center to play the Habs in tonight's game, and boy, it was a good one. In a game where Montreal, one of the bottom-dwelling teams in the league, currently I believe 5th or 6th in the Connor Bedard sweepstakes, versus this team that seemingly can't be stopped, Montreal put up an incredible fight starting in the first period. We were holding Boston to the outside, we were really driving some offensive chances, especially Nick Suzuki, who really had his legs tonight playing with Rem Pitlick and Josh Anderson again. KIRBY, DACH doing amazing things throughout this entire game, and I'll be getting into our boy KIRBY a lot as we get through this video because this man played one of his, maybe his best game of the season, straight up maybe his best game of the season tonight. But the Habs as a whole, it wasn't just one player tonight, it was literally everyone. They were working as a cohesive unit, and you know, despite not having the most talent in the world, especially against this Boston team that has incredible depth from their first to fourth line, top to bottom defensive pairings, even their goalies have incredible depth. We saw Jake Swayman tonight, not one of the Vezina favorites, Linus Ullmark, but it was Swayman versus Montembeault, and it was really a good battle. Like in that first period, we saw a lot of chances, the Habs driving the net, the Bruins creating some really scary chances, and it was just a lot of fun to watch. There weren't a lot of whistles in this game as a whole, not a ton of penalties. It was really fast-paced, really fun. But early in the first, you know, the Habs were pressing, whatever, and eventually the Habs get a power play. And this is where I was going to get a bit worried. The Habs have the 32nd or last place ranked power play, and the Bruins have the number 1 ranked penalty kill. And predictably, on that power play, this is where I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be a rout by Boston if we can't get this under control, because Montreal literally looked worse on their first power play than they did on 5-on-5. Boston had multiple high-danger scoring chances on the penalty kill, while Montreal just couldn't even get it into the offensive zone at all. It was a disaster of a power play, and I thought we wouldn't be able to bounce back, but we did. We really did. Just after the penalty expired to Brad Marchand, he comes flying down the right wing, guts right to the net, and Sam Montembeault robs him, and that was a theme for this game. Our boy Monty Dikembe, we don't have the animation yet. Maybe we'll get one soon. I saw some people asking for a Monster Bow animation, some people for the finger wag with Montembeault. He was insane tonight, making saves, keeping the Habs in this game, as he's done over his last, what, is this his 8th consecutive start now? Who knows if we'll see Caden Primo before Jake Allen comes back, but I don't think we need to if Montembeault is riding this hot streak because he is nuts. I mean, the Habs were really giving up some pretty prime chances, but guess what? Montembeault was bailing us out. And finally, after that save, it felt like the tides turned, at least in that first period, because Suzuki had a break just soon after on a great feed from Rem Pitlick, who has been also phenomenal, by the way. Rem Pitlick playing on that top line, really been given an opportunity. He showed out tonight, and he looks like he could stay on that top line for a little while longer, at least until we get some of our injured players back. But yeah, I mean, that first period was really surprisingly good, especially at the end there when we had a great press from our boys. I mean, they were really in the offensive zone. They were buzzing. They were buzzing in the offensive zone, getting some chances to the net, moving the puck around well, and the period was capped off by another great save from Montembeault on Trent Frederic, an absolute robbery to keep it 0-0 heading into the second. And Montreal, you just knew that they wanted to win this game badly. I mean, obviously they're NHL players, they want to win every game badly, but versus Boston in this packed house, the crowd was so loud, especially when Brad Marchand touched the puck. Monty was hyping him up, getting every save, the crowd was going nuts, and early in the second, the same thing again, another ridiculous save, I believe on the penalty kill, and he just, the crowd was so loud, so buzzing, and we had a great penalty kill right after it too, and guess what? It all culminates in a Habs power play where Mike Hoffman fires it towards the net, looking for Dadonov in front, misses it. Swayman hits it off the pad to a wide open KIRBY, DACH on the other side of the net. Perfect rebound goal. Pots it. 1-0 Montreal. KIRBY, DACH again KIRBY, we're getting this is going to play a couple more times in this video, I guarantee you that. That was his 9th goal of the season. He was phenomenal, like I said, in the first period with his hustle, in the second period potting the goal to make it 1-0, and it's kind of crazy because that power play was completely different than the power play we saw in the first period, which was a complete disaster. One where we couldn't even get the puck in. This one we were moving the puck around, creating opportunities, and KIRBY Dach capitalized as well as he could. The problem is, later in this period, this wasn't, if you've been watching all the game recaps, and to any of you who have watched every single game recap, number one, I love you. Number two, every single one? Really? Like, that is kind of nuts, but we really appreciate it. But you will always hear me say that Montreal throughout this season, the common theme has been after they do something good, they get a penalty soon after and reverse their fortunes. Now, this wasn't immediately after, but kind of soon after that KIRBY Dach power play goal, Mike Hoffman goes in. He gets a chance where he probably should have taken a shot on net, but he looked for the pass instead. He got frustrated that it didn't work out the way he wanted it to, and he took a couple of hacks at a Bruins player going up the ice, and after the third hack onto the hands, they had to call a penalty on Mike Hoffman. It was a dumb penalty out of frustration, and guess what the Bruins do? They capitalize right away, and it's really frustrating. Because it was Taylor Hall, who hadn't scored since December. It's not the guy you want to let get rolling for Boston. It was a greasy goal right on the goal line, just barely chips it over the goal line. Montembeault kind of scoops it out, but it did cross the line and the Bruins score. And you're just kind of like, oh, this guy really, after a dumb penalty from Hoffman. And, it was a little frustrating to see that. It was 1-1, but the game was still exciting, and near the end of the period, the Bruins were really rolling, and the Habs were playing pretty good defense again. It was amazing we didn't give up a goal near the end of the second, because you could tell the Habs were a little frustrated, but ultimately it goes into the third period, and the Habs were ready to go again. Like, KIRBY Dach, coming into the third period at that point, had a 75 face-off percentage with a goal and was driving plays, not only with his skill in the offensive zone, but with his body. He'd be dumping in, dump and chase, and hit people hard, keeping the play alive, and he was great on the face-off dot tonight, like I said, and the Habs were buzzing immediately. And one guy I wanted to point out, especially in the third period, that played really well, Raphael Harvey Pinard. A guy a lot of you people probably don't know a lot about. He's played most of his time in Laval, but he's still pretty young. I believe only 23, 24 years old. He scored against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he was making a name for himself again tonight, being a scrappy little player, one of the fastest guys on the team. Him and Pitlick are kind of similar in a lot of ways, where Harvey Pinard is a little more physical, a little more chippy. Pitlick's more of a finesse guy, but the way they move and their size is kind of similar, and Pinard was just, every time the puck was going into the offensive zone, he was hustling, going all out after the puck, and he won a lot of puck battles more often than not. Even short-handed one time, he skated in and just let a clapper, like a slap shot on the break, go. I love this guy. I hope he plays like this every single game from now on. But the Habs were just playing amazing, and Pitlick got another chance soon after that off a interesting... It was like Suzuki to Anderson. He almost lost the puck, but a quick centering feed, and Pitlick tips it, but Swayman makes a good save. But then it all culminates again when Boston kept the pressure on, and they scored. A point shot from David Pastrnak. I believe it ended up getting credited to David Krejci, who tipped it in front, just stepped in front of Montembeault. A perfect tip right into the top corner. There's nothing Monty could have done, and all of a sudden it's 2-1 Boston, and Montreal is desperate. The crowd gets a little quiet, but they're still cheering the team on. They don't want Boston to win, and guess what? Guess who comes through again? For the third time in this video, I'm playing this animation. KIRBY Dach again, scramble in front of the net. There's a rebound again, and guess who's there to pot it while falling over on his backhand? KIRBY Dach right into the net. It's 2-2. He's celebrating an assist from Alex Belzile. That's 2 straight games with a point for Belzile. He ended up getting bumped up to that second line with KIRBY Dach and Mike Hoffman, especially later in the game. There's some chemistry there between these guys. Belzile, a 31-year-old AHL vet, still looking for his first ever NHL goal. He hit the post this game and had a couple other great opportunities, but he had a great game too. And KIRBY just with the amazing goal. But at the end of the day, ended up not mattering, because I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Off a great face-off win by Boston, they put a shot on the net, Pastrnak, but Bergeron's there. No one really hits him on the rebound, and he's able to put it past Montembeault. And ultimately, the Habs had a good press with the net empty, but couldn't capitalize as the Bruins win. But I think this was about the best outcome possible. As I saw some people put it, think of it this way. The Montreal Canadiens missing, I think they were, their active roster tonight only had a total of 77 goals on the season. And as of every team's last game, the Habs had 77 goals on their active roster tonight. The next worst team was something in the 90s. The Habs had virtually no goal scoring from their whole season there tonight, but they went toe-to-toe with the best team in the NHL. They could have very well won this game if one or two more bounces went their way, especially Alex Belzile, who hit the corner of the post and crossbar, but the Habs easily could have won. They played great. Yeah, they got outshot, and yeah, Boston definitely looked like the better team tonight, but Montreal could have won. We went toe-to-toe with them, and we still lost in regulation, which means that we didn't get the extra one loser point for an overtime or shootout loss, which means Team Tank is in full force, and we are one bit closer to Connor Bedard. And I know there's a big mix of you in the comments saying, yes, we got to go all out for Connor Bedard, tank every game, or no, screw that, losing ruins the culture. But I think tonight was perfect, because we fought incredibly hard. We played one of our better games of the season, and we still lost. So development is not hurt by a game like tonight. A game like tonight is one where you can pat the guys on the back and say, you did all you could. You guys played great. So they're happy, they're excited, their development is progressing, and we lose a game in the standings. So I think this was about as good as it could have gone. Obviously, you want to beat Boston. I would have loved to beat Boston and Toronto in back-to-back games. But you can't get everything you want, but I still think this result is amazing for us Habs fans and for the team itself, for Kent Hughes, who was, I'm sure, looking around, shopping at the trade deadline, watching every game. Gary Bettman in attendance tonight, too, watching these two rivals play it out. It wasn't a super physical game. It was a bit of a fun game, fast-paced, a lot of action. One of the more fun games of the season, I will say, and I think the result, like I said, was about as good as it gets. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new or a returning viewer. I'm your host, Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next one.